Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome back to Articulate with Steve McJones, with me, your host, Steve McJones. This episode features a good friend of mine, my brother's good friend, who is also a good friend of mine, Marcus Carnes. He grew up in the Cincinnati area, and we were kind of talking about his aspirations to be a politician before this, and we kind of just got really into it within the interview. And he's just a really fun guy in general, and playful and an alligator and goon, and it was a good conversation. Hope you enjoy. All right, guys. Marcus, how you doing? Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. 28 years old, man.
Yeah, you excited? It kind of sucks that it's in the worst time ever to have a birthday.
It is.
But
whole month of March, huh?
Yeah, it's rough, but at least you get to celebrate with some cool guys. Patch, over here.
Cheers.
He's going to be chiming in from the background occasionally. So, Marcus, since when I know that you moved all around, all over the place, and that was for politics, right? That was because of your... So, before that, in high school, were you always, politics centered? Were you always focused on that? Or did you kind of bounce around, or what was your high school life like?
Dude, when I was in high school, wanted to be a politician started when I was 7th or 8th grade, dude.
Really?
Yeah, because I was always wanted to be because when my parents are from Cambodia, so when we got here, everyone's poor, you know what I mean? So,
really?
Yeah, so we lived, and then my mom became a pharmacist, and then we
Did you move straight into Ohio? Where did you grow up?
Yeah. I was born in Ohio. I was born here, but my mom wasn't. So yeah, so
dude, I mean that's pretty rough, right? Growing up, is it just you and your mom, or?
I got a little sister, and then I live with my grandparents too. So it's pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah. What city?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
okay.
Cincinnati. Mm-hmm.
Nice, man.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be a politician because when we finally got a bunch of money and we were able to move out. I was like, why are all my friends still, stuck in the same situation? I was like, dude, how do you get to that platform? And I've always been pretty extroverted, outgoing, so if people always migrate around me, I can get people to, I've always been a leader, been a captain, doing all this kind of stuff. I was like, how do you get to that platform to change people's opinion on things? And I was like, oh, be a politician.
Right.
So since 7th grade, brother, I always ran for school council, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, fairly successful.
Yeah, everything.
I won recess all day.
Prom king. I won prom king. Just things that took votes, I would always try
soda out of the water fountain.
You know what I mean? Little Kool-Aid packets in your pocket.
Yeah,
but I always wanted to be a politician just to make a change in the community, and up until recently, I didn't want to do it just because of some experiences that I've had recently.
Right. Well, so from high school, you went to Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
And in Ohio State, you kept doing the whole politics thing?
At Ohio State, so the easiest path to be a politician is I was thinking hey, what is the easiest way to do it? So I decided I was going to go to law school.
Oh, okay.
So to get into law school, you need to have a undergrad in poli-sci, stuff like that. But I got my undergrad in English because it'd be easy because I'm going to do contract writing and all that kind of stuff. Because 90% of, politicians start as, lawyers. Obama went to Harvard Law School.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I figured that would be the easiest path to get to being in politics, but I was able to get internships and opportunities that got my foot in the door without having to finish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you learn anything from your English major that you can apply?
A lot, man. A lot. So, a lot of being, wanting to be a politician is a lot of public speaking. Right. A lot of, being able to formulate your own speeches, being able to formulate your own,
Articulate?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you want to basically be able to, convince a crowd to do something, just as you're, when you're writing a paper, a lot of those paper are persuasive papers, persuasive reports. So, it helped a lot, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So just kind of constructing, not even arguments, but just constructing yourself in a way where people are more open-minded towards you a little bit.
Yeah, I guess. So one thing that I always do, rather when I was given a prompt about something, you want to take, let's say you gave me a prompt about, write a paper about shoes. Mm-hmm. You can write so many different perspectives of how you want it to go. You know what I mean? And so it kind of opened my mind in a creative way because I had a creative writing / English degree.
Oh, really?
So it was how am I going to talk about these shoes in a way that no one else is going to talk about these shoes?
Yeah.
And that's something that catches your attention. You don't want to hear the same kind of like, oh, these are nice sneakers or designed to make you run faster. No, you want to hear like the foam bottom on this was created by a small,
the history of it.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of made me think of taking the most simplest thing, but pitching it to someone in a more creative way, which is what I was gonna use in politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that applies. I mean, even for me, like I need to, I'm trying to go into like entertainment of some sort, and it's like, what can I was really thinking about this deeply the other day. Is like, what do I actually offer that's different than what anybody else has? You know what I mean? And it's really hard to like, nail that down because, I mean, especially for me, I haven't even been out in the real world, so I don't even know what a lot of other people are offering at this point. Yeah.
It's a nuts thing to think about, brother. Different perspectives.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the most important thing for politics. That's what Patrick always kind of has enforced with me is like different perspectives and kind of how important those play into, I mean, how you go about your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and just talk about perspective, man. Your mom being from Cambodia, being raised in Cincinnati. What age did you go from, kind of lower to upper?
So it's...
Because you said that you were leaving all your friends behind.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of was a point where, like, when I was growing up, my mom was also... I mean, my mom, she's not much older. Well, she's, she had me when she was a teenager. So she's fairly young. So, we kind of were like going to school at the same point. Does that make sense?
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were like, she was trying to like get her life together while I was trying to, so she didn't really have time to be a mom. So my grandma was kind of raising us both at the same time, like I'm raising her to be a young woman and while still raising him as a kid. So it took a while for my mom to be a mom, man. Yeah. And so,
do you think, I mean, so are you still close with your mom?
Yeah, she's one of my best friends.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you think that affects you in a way that's, different than anybody else that's like raised?
I think it affected me in a way to where like, if I didn't have like, my grandparents as a source to go to when I needed something, it would have been more of a hardship. However, I could run to them for a problem. You know what I mean? And it kind of made me feel like I had. So for a while, my mom was like my older sister, it felt like, you know what I mean? Because, she's still out doing these kind of things and, trying to go out and enjoy her young life.
Right.
You can't get mad at her about it, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things like, it wasn't until like, I was in my teenage years or younger, 11 past when I was like, oh, Mom, I need help with this. Give me some good advice. Because at that point, when she's in her younger 20s, early 30s, she's not really in a position to give great advice that I need. Right. You know what I mean?
But she is able to relate a little bit more than somebody who's older. So, I mean, she can give you her perspective. And
she can tell me what not to do because she's done those kind of things. But, she doesn't really have the perspective of what I should do instead because she, there's certain experience that she hasn't lived because, she's new to this country. Right. She didn't have to go to elementary school here. You know what I mean? So were things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like, something I kind of want to go off of was... how you said you're lucky to have your grandparents there to like kind of as a net if anything happened or you go for your problems. I was just talking to my buddy Adam the other day and he was talking about how like, this whole thing happened. He put like all of his money pretty much into the stock market and then it went up and up and up for like a while. And then just all of a sudden, crashed and now he is SOL, he had no money and luckily, he wasn't going to be able to go like a month without anything coming in, right? Yeah. And he was just kind of sustaining before, but he was lucky to have that net of his parents to give him like a small loan of money that he can live off for a little bit while this whole thing goes down. Yeah. So it's just something, I mean, that's just a perspective that I hadn't even thought about before is like how close you can come to being, homeless just like that.
I mean, you got to think that, there's me and Patch and, even Michael Phelps were complaining about our situation, but we don't have any kids. Right. We don't have, a wife to support. We don't have, a mortgage on a house, Right. Think about how those people that are in way off situations. Me and Patch had a long talk about it yesterday about, like, think about how many people are in way worse situations than us. We're stressing about this, but I couldn't even imagine. Like having a 4-family household and, being laid off. Right? So, I mean, it's rough for my employees right now, but, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super lucky to be. I mean, it kind of sucks because it's the end of my senior year, but I haven't like started a career yet, so I haven't like had the chance to even lose a career yet.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you're going to be in the best time to go into a career because number one, new jobs are going to be hiring because so many people are going to be leaving the workforce because of this and that. You know what I mean? I think going back in it, you gotta have like a fresh start.
Yeah, a little bit, but Patrick brings up the point a lot that people aren't going to have money, you know what I mean, to spend. So within the hospitality industry, I mean, people are always going to be staying everywhere, but like going out to buy drinks or to buy food is going to be more rare, I think.
Yeah, it is going to be more rare, but you know, a lot of these jobs that people are working at, you know, from home right now, they're jobs that would be better off in person. So it's going to be a lot more traveling that's going on. All those people aren't traveling now. When it hits, they're going to have to get to meeting with this person, meeting with these people. You know what I mean? All those people that have phone interviews are going to have to meet face-to-face interviews. So I think there's going to be a little pop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would like to think so.
I hope so, yeah.
I would like to hope so, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, man, so you got into politics a little bit through college and did the poli-sci, and then you didn't go to law school, or?
I did go to law school. I didn't finish law school.
Oh, really? What happened?
So I
if
went.
You don't mind.
Yeah. So I went to law school at NKU, and then got a sweet opportunity to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Hung out there for a minute. Then had a sweet opportunity to go to Naples. So
yeah, I mean, what was the first opportunity like a big decision because you had to leave school? Or?
No. So I mean, when you get an internship in politics, it counts towards, especially when you're in law school. As long as you're interning with city council, a law firm, anything like that, anything that's going to apply, it counts as a way to do it. Because a lot of places, if you're in law school, you want to be a lawyer, you'll go be a paralegal, and then they'll hire you immediately once you take the bar and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly like that. Huh. So I mean. So for a while I wanted to be a lawyer, man, and then then I kind of started to see kind of the shady world in politics.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into that, I just want to say I like how you call them opportunities instead of just internships and like little things, like jobs, because a lot of people are kind of pessimistic, dude. They just say, "Oh, well, I had to take an internship in Nashville. I had to do this or whatever."
Oh no, it's opportunity because you make a job is what you make of it. You know what I mean? So if you go into it a negative perspective, like, "Oh, I got to work this job," like, no. Every time I meet a few people, like I moved to big city after big city, I always take it as an opportunity to meet new people who can get me to where I need to be, which is how I've.
Right. And I mean, and that's not selfish or anything, right? That's like. I mean, you would help them out if you needed to, like professionally and.
Oh, I mean, me and Patch used to be managers at a company, and people put us down as references for their jobs all the time. You know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's an honor for me to be. You want my recommendation on a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a great thing to think.
I actually got that for the first time like the other day. This girl just like called me up out of nowhere, and she's like, "Hey, can I use you as a reference for Marco's Pizza?" I was like, "Yeah, man. I mean."
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, they think highly of you. You know what I mean? Right. So they know that you're gonna give them a great perspective on.
Definitely.
Yeah. For sure.
So what kind of shady world are we dealing with here?
So when I was in Nashville, the mayor of Nashville, Tennessee, it was a year she got caught in a scandal because she was sleeping with the police chief.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, very, very, very
like disingenuous.
So when I got into politics, I was like, this is how you're gonna get to make these changes and all this kind of stuff. I don't have to say anyone's name, anything like that.
Right.
But, I mean, I worked for a politician one day, and being his intern, he gave me, those petitions that you sign when you're on a square. Like, oh, can you do this to legalize this?
Right.
Or this and that, or can we do this to get more money for the community center? One politician, I gave him this. And I was like, hey, these are 5,000 signatures I got from someone who dropped these off. What do you want me to do with them? He's like, put them right there. Put them in the trash can.
Really?
Yeah, put them straight in the trash can.
Damn.
Yeah, so I mean, and I was like, like someone spent hours or days going out, getting all these people to sign this, getting, stepping out of your comfort zone, going up to someone at the grocery store, asking them to sign this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do it in a wastebasket. And that was like my first real sign, like, damn, dude, like, this is someone who our tax money is going to pay his salary, and yet, he doesn't really.
He doesn't care about the work.
Yeah, and then I just
about the character.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying he was a bad guy. It's just like, what do you value as important?
Right. What do you respect?
Exactly.
Like,
So that kind of was like my first negative taste in politics, and I was like, you know what, like. this might not be for me.
Really?
But then I continued to do it, you know, and then I just kept seeing stuff like that. Like, you know, big thing about that people don't get in politics is that, you know, to run a political campaign, to run for like a position, you need to have people who are going to financially back you. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, let's say if I were to do it now, you know, I have to give up my profession. So someone's got to pay me enough money to be able to, you know, sustain my life. So
your salary on top of all the campaign
Exactly.
costs.
So you need to have someone who's going to... So these people are putting thousands and thousands of dollars into you. They're not doing it for no reason. They're doing it because I have this business and I want you to take care of me when you get to the seat to be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of people in politics who win these campaigns, they win them because they have all that financial backing, because they can reach more people. But then once they get to their position, the people who financially back them, who help them get there, those are the people who are really making those decisions. You know
right.
And so, you know, and I...
That makes sense. That's kind of, you know...
You know?
There's always like a whole thing behind how the president is more of like a puppet or anything. And I've always heard that, but never really understood why.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
And that's how it works, especially on a lower class, like a city council or, you know, like a Senate position, you know.
Really? That...
Yeah, yeah. Once you get there, you know, I mean, because a lot of people, you know, especially when you're going to these communities and you're promising, oh, hey, I'm going to do all this and this. I need you guys to take care of us, you know. Mm-hmm. They're going to make sure that you do what you promise, you know what I mean? Or it's going to be some backlash.
Some backlash.
Hey, especially, you know, when it comes to that monetary level, you know.
It's crazy how much importance that holds in our society. You know, like that's something that I didn't really fully comprehend until last year. Like, I never got into stocks or anything, but I took finance class and hung out with the 28-year-old for a little bit and kind of realized, like, how big...
27 at the time.
27 at the time. Yeah. It kind of, like, how much that guides your whole life. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, like, that guy, you know, he could have been, without his parents, trying something, like starting a new business or... moving to a place where he's never lived before, and then everything crashes, and then immediately SOL.
I mean, you got to think, like, something that I always think is weird, you know. If you were to check all the money you spend frivolously, you know, throughout the year, it'd make you sick, you know. All the money you spend on alcohol, the money you spend on fast food. Mm-hmm. But then it's really, like, you know, especially, so a few years ago, I gave up. I think it was, so I do patch since I was a teenager, so I used to be a real flashy guy. I used to buy like nice clothes, nice shoes all the time, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, the was not Rolex.
Yeah, Michael Kors. Yeah, this was a gift, you know? So I kind of like steered away from spending too much money on stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because, materialistic. I mean, I'll still buy a nice dinner because I want, you know, I enjoy food. But when it comes to clothes and things like that, especially, you know, when you're changing your size and stuff like that, you think, like, you know, how many... I give away a bag of clothes. I was giving away a bag of clothes a year because just donating. Like, I don't wear this. I always do that, you know. Have you wore this shirt in the past 6 months? If not, get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was getting away bags and bags of clothes, you know.
Which meant you were buying clothes.
Buying a bunch of stuff, you know. It's just one of those things, like, I wear the same... Like, right now, I'm to the point where, you know, I probably have 10 to 15 pairs of pants, but I probably wear the same 5 pairs of pants. You know what I mean? I just wash them again.
Yeah.
I do a smell test for a shirt.
Smell test.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this shirt's still good. Put it on. You know what I mean? Yeah, as opposed
to... I mean, you got underwear on and, like, you put deodorant on.
Yeah, I mean, I now work in a, you know, my job, I wear a lot of, you know, dress clothes and blazers and stuff like that. But when it comes to hanging out, if you see me hanging out, I'm going to wear the same sweatpants.
Same thing. And just being comfy.
Exactly. And, I mean, you think, like, you know, if you're making $50,000 and you're spending... I was talking to Patch about this yesterday, but they say, like, I don't know what the percentage is, either 7 or 80. If you have $1,000 in your bank account, you have more money than, like, 70 or 80% of all Americans. Really? Because people don't save money.
Really?
This epidemic, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, people don't save money. People don't save any money. That's why, you know, it's such a hit on these people, you know what I mean? So, like, you got to think, you know, especially being in our profession like me and Patrick is, when you see like a server or a bartender and they like have to pay taxes of $2,000 and they're freaking out, where I'm like, yeah, you made $67,000 last year. You don't have
Where'd it all go?
You don't have $2,000 around to pay these taxes. You know what I mean? And you got to think, people don't.
I mean, that's a major part of it. It's 1/3 of it. You know, I read this thing is the skills to keeping money. It's not only, you know, making it, but it's keeping it and growing it. Those are two other completely different things. So if you're bad on 1/3 of that, you know, you got to be able to focus and do other stuff.
Yeah, that's a big thing of stocks, man. we got Michael Phelps in the stocks, and he wasn't into it too hard, was he, Patrick?
Michael Phelps, by the way, just real quick, Michael Phelps is not actually Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Paul, he's a fun guy.
Yeah. Mike Roth. But we got him in the stocks because like we were trying to be like, yo, instead of putting your money in a bank, put it in something that could potentially grow your money. Because, you put it in a bank with that low interest rate, you're not going to gain anything. You're going to have the same amount of money you put in there. At least this way it can grow. Which is why you got to learn about stop loss, stop growth, all that kind of stuff. So
I was talking with that guy that lost all that money that I was talking about. He still had more. He still, even after the crash, had more than he originally invested. You know what I mean? So he's fine with that. But it was kind of sad because our other friend that was there too was not kind of paying attention to it as much, and it's like that's a big part of the game. I think.
Is
like the
monitoring
stock, monetary. I mean, playing cash flow, dude. That's the only thing you got.
Yeah.
For the first levels, you gotta get those smaller stocks and kind of grow them real easily.
Exactly.
And quickly.
It's all about watching it. I mean, so when I first I used to get. When I was 13 or 14, a lot of stocks I have were stocks that I was given as a gift for Christmas, and I didn't really care about them. You know
That's
what I mean?
nice, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
those are the best because you don't know what to do with them.
in P&G, sweet. You know what I mean? Like, oh, give me $100, please.
Yeah.
But then as you get older, you start to realize, this guy has $1,000 in the bank. I put $1,000 in a stock. Now I have $1,200 after.
A month or two,
and now he still has $1,000. And that's something that you don't pay attention to until you're making more money, and that's a weird thing to say, but once I actually start watching my money, it's crazy to see what you spend money on.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, luckily I had when I was 16 years old, I took a personal finance class just for shits and gigs, and the teacher was just really, really good at his job, really smart guy, and was able to cut through to me at least. I could tell not everybody was super interested, but he got through to a regular, I'd say I was an average 16-year-old doing nothing.
That's funny that you say that, man, because that's why I got into politics, actually.
Really?
So one of the things I wanted to do was change the educational system.
That's where that's where change really comes from.
Yeah, because when I grew up, the reason I grew up and the reason I got so upset when I left is because from K through 8th grade, there are so many kids smarter than me, you know what I mean, that I hung out with regularly. And I'm like, what the hell's going on, you know what I mean? I can get in this, but how do you get this better?
And that's a scary thing.
It is a scary thing, dude. And then I went to Walnut Hills, which is you got to take a test to get in school. If you drop below a 70 or a C, they kick you out of the school.
Really?
Yeah. It's a best school in Ohio for, 10, 15 years in a row.
Damn.
So I went there, and I'm like, I go back to visit my old friends, and I'm like, what am I doing differently that you guys? Because now I'm levels ahead of you.
Right.
And it's one of those things one thing I realized and why I wanted to go into politics is because I realized that college isn't for everyone.
Right. College is not for everybody.
Not.
But the thing is, if you don't go to college, even if it's not for you, it's still, reflects negatively and affects the rest of your life.
And that's the thing. So this is one thing that I'm going to get real nerdy about, man. It's
Get nerdy. I love it.
Yeah. So we live in society-wise, brother, we really value. There's 3 jobs that we value. We value, politics, kind of, lawyers, doctors. You know
politics,
what I mean?
Lawyers, and doctors.
So those are things that you're like, I need to be a lawyer, I need to be a doctor. People that go to medical school, they accumulate hundreds of thousands of in this, but jobs but think about what your essential jobs are now too. Plumbing.
Yeah.
A plumber makes about $100K a year, 70 to 80.
Janitor versus a doctor, man.
Hey, exactly. These essential jobs, everyone can't be a doctor.
Right.
But you still.
So why do they get paid more?
Not even necessarily why they get paid more. Why isn't those professions more? Why don't people be like, hey, you should be a plumber?
Right.
That's a field that you can go and make a great amount of money, and that's a job. If you were to tell me when we were 13 years old that you want to be a plumber, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You were to tell me you want to be a garbage man, what the hell's wrong with you?
That's your dream?
Those are the jobs that, we need society to do. And those are jobs that pay well. A welder makes close to $100K a year.
Really?
And that's a skill that...
Yeah, my buddy, he went to a trade school, which is even kind of looked a little down upon.
Exactly.
It's like the view from the high picket fence, white, suburban type of thing, looking down at people kind of... Like you said, but he makes way more. He was done in 2 years, and he's making a full salary right now.
That's the thing. So you get this, you tell this, and so one thing I learned about law school, and this is what freaks a lot of people out, is that to get into law school, you have to, number one, you have to take your LSAT. Then after that, they base it off of that score to let you get into law school. So when I got in law school, my first year, knocking it out in KU, there's 50% dropout rate.
Really?
So let's say you spent your whole life thinking you're going to be a lawyer. You accumulate 4 years of undergrad debt. You just paid your first year of law school, and then you drop out.
Man.
When in reality, you could have been a welder. You could have made $90K. You would have been done in 2 years.
Debt free.
Because, just the way your brain processes things, you just process things with your hands better. You process, mechanics better.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that...
So we need to change the societal outlook of those types of jobs.
I think you need to include more trade schools in, like, the high school level like that. You know what I mean? As an option. Fair. So what Hughes High School, they do this work program where basically once you get to, like, a sophomore or junior, you can take a class of, like, that is pretty much like a trade learning. So you get to go work at the zoo.
Right. Oh,
or yeah,
really?
you can either go work at the zoo and like learn about animals. It's like a botany class, or learning about plants. Or you can go like work in a shop and learn about like. And if all schools had that, dude,
everybody would.
That'd be nuts. Though that kid who's like, you know what, college ain't for me. I don't know what I'm gonna major in. I don't want to be an accountant, but I'm really good with cars. Boom. Be a mechanic. Make $70K, get no debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So it's one of those things that, they're like, either you go to college or you're a failure. But then you're like, what about these trade schools? There's a whole third avenue that people don't
really consider. Yeah, no, and I totally can get behind that, man. I really wish.
Yeah, so that's why I was gonna go into politics. Basically, like, yo, every school needs to have a third option. They need to be able to be like, hey, you shouldn't be an accountant, you shouldn't be a lawyer, but I think you'd be great as, an electrician.
Yeah, give them something instead of saying, no, you can't be.
Yeah,
you can't go to college because you're too dumb.
Yeah,
give them an option.
But, you should, I think your brain really works really well to where you can nail a circuit. You can get this kind of stuff done. Boom, you get all this stuff done. Some of the smartest people I know, dude, never went to college.
Yeah. And that reflects even with older people as well. In every industry, there's people that have never went to college, and you wouldn't expect it.
It's like one every third billionaire or millionaire never went to college or something like that.
Yeah.
It's something crazy like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's wild. And so another thing that you can do in high school that I did, that my dad really pushed for, it's a little bit of a different type of thing, but it's something that, again, not a lot of high school kids realize is an option, is like the college credit plus, like PSEO,
like
type of thing where you take college classes.
AP classes.
Well, yeah, it's AP classes, except you go to an actual college.
Oh, I don't know that, yeah.
Yeah, no, see, but the thing is, it's an actual college class, but the high school pays for those classes.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's really sweet. I took a chemistry class at Sinclair, and that got me the same credit an AP chemistry credit would have got me in high school. And the thing is, that AP chemistry class in our high school was the hardest class that in the whole whole school. And it's like they're just kind of like fucking these kids.
Yeah.
They're bringing them into these AP classes and like, this is what college is going to be like. This is what the real world's going to be like, and giving them all these things and like setting their expectations, which I think controls what the rest of their life is going to look like.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, man. I went to Walnut Hills got you so ready for college. My freshman year was a breeze. It was an absolute breeze. Like, I went there. I think me and Patch had English together, and we had a professor who only gave out, 4 A's his entire life, and I got one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I asked Patch. I would sit in front row, and he'd watch, and I'd put my screen up, and him, Herb, and McGee would watch whatever movies I'm playing. And I'd just be like...
From the back?
Yeah, I just write good papers, brother, and I just come in. The guy was a little weird, though. Rude. Yeah. But, for the most part, dude, for us at Walnut Hills, I mean... There's certain classes that you take that were required. Like, everyone had to take AP English. Mm-hmm. Everyone. I was
really?
Like, yeah. So
AP English?
Yeah, so we got through and we had, a bunch of credits already, but they hold you accountable. So that way, when I got to college, we were all looking at... So me and a bunch of my friends went from Walnut, we were like, dude, this is a breeze.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, this is a breeze.
That's the other thing. You get to college and you're like, what? This is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more like, I think if I was in a different perspective, if I didn't want to, go out and party, I didn't want to go hang out, I might have done way better in, undergrad than I did. But
so there's another debate is do you, I mean, how much do you value, going out and partying over, getting ahead in life? You know what I mean? Should you, how much should you enjoy it versus how much should you prepare to enjoy it?
I think there's a good balance, man. I don't think, I think most of the people I know who didn't go out during college, they regret not going out in college.
Really?
But then everyone who, a degenerate or, who made it through, wish they would have studied more.
Wish they would have studied.
It's one of those things, like, you got to have that good balance, There's nights where, like, I'd be like, I go party at their house, or I go, like, out to, like, Long Street and be like, I got to leave at 12. I got an exam tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, you got to convince yourself. And it's kind of about the people you surround yourself with, too,
Definitely.
I got those friends, who will, I say, hey, I shouldn't do another one. They're like, oh, just take another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you got those friends that you're like, all right, if he doesn't want to do another one, you don't got to do it. Thanks for coming out.
Those are the people you should surround yourself
Yeah, exactly.
with.
But you kind of need both of them. You kind of it depends. Like,
to get you away from...
Exactly. It's good to step out of your comfort zone every now and then, but it's kind of, who is the majority of the people you're surrounding yourself with? You surround yourself with a bunch of degenerates, brother. It's a downhill slope. But
you're going to become a degenerate.
Exactly. But if you hang out with people who, that's why I like to hang out with like-minded people. People who, I know, and it sounds crazy, but I like to hang out with people who have the same amount to lose as I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, because I know that I'm out of a job. Patrick's out of a job right now because of this, but we both feel it the same way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, if you guys had crazy rich parents and you guys lost your job, you wouldn't really understand
the severity.
The severity of it. You know,
Right.
exactly. You know what I mean? Which is
What about people that have more to lose than you?
Yeah, more to lose. I never want to say that I understand completely what you lost, you know what I mean? I never know what it's like to not be able to feed 2 kids or something like that, but I can see from here that, I understand that you're dealing with a lot of loss, you know what I mean? So those are things that I take into account as well, like when I'm hanging out with people, or if I go out, and if someone tells me they work at 7 a.m., I'm never like, oh, don't be a bitch. You should hang out longer. I'm like, oh, dude, you gotta work. I know what it's like.
Yeah.
I appreciate you showing up, because I know a lot of people, they work at 7 a.m., they won't even show up.
They won't even show up.
Exactly, so, and I'm not mad at those people. It's just one of those things, like, just be respectful of what people...
Of everybody's lifestyle.
Exactly, and that's one thing in college.
It's hard, though. It is hard to kind of, like, not judge. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, I don't know why, but in our society... maybe in people in general, it's just easy to kind of judge people. Like, it comes naturally.
It is. And one of the things that you got to get over in college, and I wish someone would have told me, it's all right to have FOMO. Like,
really?
Yeah, FOMO. It's all right to be, to be okay with missing out on something. And that's something freshman and sophomore year, dude, I would... Oh, dude, there's a party here. We're doing this, and I'm fucking taking the exam. I gotta get out of here.
Getting out of here.
Yeah, I gotta do this. And
Either to celebrate or to.
I can miss 3 homework assignments this semester, this quarter. I'm out of here. Let me go hang out. That's one thing. Like now, dude, if I can't be there, I won't be there. But I used to have really bad fear of missing out, dude. And when people would, and a lot of people our age still deal with that, dude, to where they're like, oh man, I really, this isn't that important, but no, dude, it's okay. You don't gotta be at every opportunity. You know what I mean?
You gotta be present where you are, and if that's work, then don't be thinking that you wish you could be somewhere else.
And I think that really
be fully present.
That really botched it for me, man. Sophomore, freshman year, I was doing really bad in school because I was just like, it wasn't like I'd take a test and I'd be like, it's not that these questions are hard. If I would have just studied an extra hour for these, I would have had them. You know what I mean? Right. If I would have read that chapter, I would have done. If I would have done my homework, which that is nuts.
Any of the homework,
that is nuts, dude. And that's one thing I realized, especially when I'm taking these tests, I'm like, these questions are the same questions I just read on my homework.
Yeah.
I just didn't do my homework.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, this is nuts. And it's just one of those things. Like, college isn't designed to be that hard, man. It's not set up against you to keep you out of it. It's just more like the things that come along with college, like, the girls, the hanging out,
the learning,
party, the people you meet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The learning part
it's just being independent for the first time.
It is. It's kind of like letting you run free, and that's one thing that hit me hard, man. Because I grew up and it was cool, and I think that's why I was able to successfully get through college pretty chill, because it wasn't like a culture shock for me, because all through high school, my high school was like college.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. Everything, you're grilling you. My high school was different than a lot of high schools, because Walnut Hills, it isn't cliquey. Everyone hung out together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the athletes hung out with the nerdies.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So we see that at a party there. Our class valedictorian was also the beer champ for 3 years in a row. A beer pong champ for 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. Everyone's smart, so you hold everyone accountable. You can't really call anyone a nerd, because we all took a test to get into it.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, It's one of, yeah.
That's like a leveling of the playing field right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, that's something that I wish, like, you're lucky you had that, man. Because, like, throughout high school, is like, I always kept status very highly in my mind. You know, status of, like, you know, jocks versus nerds versus, you know, film kids, you know, whatever. And it's like, I wish, because once I got to college, I still kept that with me. And I'm like, oh, I'm the bottom of the food chain. Like, I'm the worst piece of... Yeah. In reality, it's like, no, we're all just here.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's the thing. And so in our high school was kind of like introduced you that early. Like, the lunchroom is where you kind of saw, like, you know, you hang out with your friends. Like, we had a whole football team table. But there'd be days I'd go hang out with the basketball players. And be like, oh, what's up, guys? You know, or like, you'll be in a chemistry thing with the most nerdiest trombone playing person ever. And you'd be like, where you going to eat lunch at today, Mark? Like, oh, dude, I got to eat with Ken. He's my lab partner. I need to work out this homework.
Yeah.
And it kind of like was an intermingling of that. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Wana was great, man. Like, had the most like range of people, and it really got us ready for college because we just like, oh, I'm here with a bunch of degenerates. So let's pick which one I want to hang out with. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what.
Do you think schools should like reform on their you know, as opposed to learning? I mean, everybody needs to learn like basic math, right, and basic science and English and reading or whatever the four things are. But beyond that, do you think that there should be like an implementation of more about like, you know, societal classes?
Yeah, 100%, like taxes and stuff like that. I mean, dude. So I mean, class on credit, dude, that would be absolutely nuts. Like, how important credit is for you, you know what I mean? So I got this weird concept about education, dude, and I think that up until 9th grade, you're really basing your entire education off of a memory thing. And it really reflects how we judge people who are considered unsmart in society because, like, you know, kindergarten through 8th grade, when I say you're being based off your memory, like, your vocab tests are remember the definition for this word.
Right.
Your math tests are remember the formula for this, plug in the same numbers.
Right.
You know, history, who won this fight in this place. There's no real critical thinking. It's more like,
what do you remember from like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, so you can get a guy with a shitty memory, and this guy just doesn't remember anything. You call him an idiot because he fails every social studies test because he can't remember. You know, and I think that's dumb. You know, you don't really get critical thinking until you get to like high school. We actually have to decide what formula, plug into this, make this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it actually becomes that kind of critical thinking. So if you were...
And still kind of memory based a little bit.
It is.
Sure.
And that's how our educational system is based now. So if you're in 4th grade, you know, and you fail every vocab test, every social studies test, you're gonna think you're dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna think you're dumb. You're gonna go through your whole life thinking
that you're dumb.
Just simply because you couldn't remember the definition for obtuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't remember the definition. And I think and I realized that a while ago, dude, like, because I was helping one of my little cousins with his homework. I was like, just say this 10 times. You'll understand. You'll remember the definition. And I'm like, you're not learning anything. It's like learning the lyrics to a song. You're just repeating it.
Oh, exactly.
And that's not really, and that's how we base intelligence, dude. K through 8th grade.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something I think is weird. And I think we need to take that out. I think high school should have more like critical thinking classes, more, you know,
things
learning about credit. Things like, you know, what would you do in this situation? Things that, you know, kind of teach more street smarts and book smarts.
Right. And kind of ask you to rely on your own brain a little bit more than relying on what somebody else has taught you.
Yeah, dude. That's why you learn, you know, some of the people you think are unintelligent are some of the most savvy people you ever meet, because when it comes to a situation, they're savvy. They're quick. They're quick at thinking and stuff. But if you tell this guy, like, hey, 20 vocab words, this is going to be our test, remember the definition. I don't got time for this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got other things to
exactly,
think about.
Dude. That's a weird thing to think about, though, you know what I mean? But it's just like, K through 8th grade, I was just learning slope. You know, I was just learning what numbers to put in here. I see a test, just boom, boom, boom.
So, do you see, like, in the future, the possibility of this kind of being implemented a little bit in the school system?
I don't think it's going to be implemented in the school system, but I think they're going to be separate, like, different schools. You know how they have, like, liberal arts schools and stuff like that, where there's a different version of teaching, because there's still such
different grade schools even.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Like, there's a language school now. There's schools where you go just to learn languages, and you know, really? But there's a German school in like Clifton that you can go to just, you know, if you want to focus on learning German. But I think that there's going to be a different branch, just how there's, like, you know, you focus on trade schools, and I think, you know, and that's something that you should think about. Those people who think differently, because everyone's brain's wired differently. Maybe that should lead to that kind of trade school instead of leading to college. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things that I think everyone learns differently.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Everyone learns differently, but everyone's based on the same educational scale. You know what I mean? And that's shitty.
It's just fucked up.
That's shitty to me. You know, like you're telling me I think differently than him, but we're gonna be great at the same. Yeah. So I think there's going to be a different variation of, as there's like charter schools.
I think I'm seeing. I mean, I don't know a lot of younger kids, but I can see that. I mean, there was something that I saw on social media. It was like some kid came home and they were like, "Dad, you're like I'm in a learning perspective right now, and you're in a stuck state of mind kind of thing." And
it is, dude.
So he like learned that from his class and just
because they're going to be like those old school ways of thinking that people are going like, "This is how I learned it. This is how I got to where I am. This is how you're going to learn it." Mm-hmm. But then there's going to be people like, dude, if you can teach my kid how to do this, do whatever you do. Just make sure he gets to the same path. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, make sure kids do like the best they can do at what they do best. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That is perfect. Yeah, that's perfect, dude. And that's one of the things that like I feel we as a society don't do. We don't give enough Yet we don't give enough leeway to let people, grow into themselves.
Right.
Yeah, because of that.
Well, cheers, man. Here's looking forward to that.
Cheers, brother.
I appreciate you coming out on this. Oh, you don't have anything left, but what are you gonna do?
Swiggity swig.
All right, man. I appreciate you talking to me. Alrighty, I want to thank Marcus again. Really good seeing him and being able to hang out with him a lot more recently is kind of nice. So. Good getting to know that guy. Thanks again for coming on the podcast, and thanks for listening. Thank you. I love you. Amen. Okay, bye.